Ever wonder what truly drives the quiet ones? We often associate silence with peace, an absence of conflict. But what if I told you that in the intricate dance of relationships, a woman's silence can be a potent, even dangerous force, subtly orchestrating the entire dynamic? It's not always submission. Sometimes it's strategy. Let's peel back the layers. As a relationship expert, I've had countless conversations with individuals navigating the intricate world of human connection. I've witnessed firsthand how silence, a seemingly simple lack of sound, can carry profound weight and meaning in a relationship. It's a topic that surfaces frequently in our modern society, and it often leads to a mix of opinions. Some see a woman's silence as a virtue, a sign of inner strength, while others view it as a troubling, even dangerous signal. The truth, as is often the case in psychology, lies in the nuances and intentions behind that quietness. The paradox of silence: not all quiet is calm. Let's start by acknowledging the positive side of silence in a relationship, because it absolutely exists. Imagine a couple, comfortable in each other's presence, sitting together without needing to fill every moment with words. Perhaps one is reading, the other listening to music, or simply enjoying the shared space. In these moments, silence isn't a void. It's a reflection of deep intimacy and security. It signals that both partners feel completely at ease and safe, understanding that constant chatter isn't a prerequisite for connection. In long-married couples, for instance, a simple gesture, a touch, or a knowing glance can convey a profound sense of comfort, hope, or reassurance. This kind of intrinsically motivated silence, as some researchers define it, is a beautiful indicator of a healthy, robust bond. It allows for reflection, emotional processing, and a full, authentic presence, without the pressure to perform or pretend. It's a moment of shared tranquility, a quiet recharge, especially vital for introverted individuals who need that personal space to fill their battery. However, this serene quietness is a far cry from what psychologists refer to as the silent treatment. This phrase itself evokes a sense of dread, and for good reason. The silent treatment isn't a peaceful pause. It's a deliberate, calculated act of withholding communication, a weaponized quietness that carries immense psychological weight. It's a form of manipulation, often used to assert power, control, or punish a partner. The refusal to engage in conversation, to simply go quiet in a contentious situation, can be toxic, unhealthy, and even abusive. It leaves the receiving partner feeling confused, frustrated, and deeply hurt, far from the comfortable intimacy of healthy silence. Unpacking the silent treatment. A tool of manipulation. So what exactly is this phenomenon, and why does it cause so much distress? The silent treatment, also known as withholding, is when a person intentionally stops talking, ignores, or refuses to interact with another person with the specific aim of manipulating, controlling, or punishing them. It's not just taking a moment to calm down. It's a sustained, purposeful cutoff of communication. Think about it this way. You're upset about your partner consistently coming home late. You try to initiate a conversation, express your feelings, and understand their reasons. Instead of a dialogue, you're met with a curt, "I'm not talking about this," or perhaps they simply ignore you completely. They might avoid eye contact, not return your calls or texts, or even physically remove themselves from the room. This isn't a request for a timeout. It's a flat-out refusal to address the issue, now or later. This kind of behavior leaves you feeling devalued, unheard, and unimportant, struggling with your pain and disappointment alone. When this pattern becomes ingrained, it's a clear sign of a toxic and potentially abusive dynamic. The conversation, if it resumes, quickly shifts from resolving the initial conflict to appeasing the silent partner, with the real issue often swept under the rug. The deeper why. Why women turn to silence. The reasons behind using the silent treatment are often complex and can stem from various psychological roots. It's not always a conscious, malicious plot, but the impact can be just as damaging. A shield of self-protection. Sometimes silence serves as a defense mechanism, a way to protect oneself from perceived harm or negative emotions during conflict. Many women grow up in environments where open, healthy communication isn't modeled effectively. Perhaps they witnessed parents who either screamed at each other or completely shut down, leaving them without constructive tools for conflict resolution. For these individuals, speaking up can feel like an overwhelming chore, a risky venture. That might lead to more pain or criticism. They might secretly wish their partners could simply read their minds, saving them the difficulty of articulating their feelings. The fear of vulnerability or of expressing something that might upset their partner or negatively alter the relationship can make silence seem like the safest, most peaceful option, even if it's ultimately destructive. It's a way to temporarily escape a battle they anticipate will be painful, hoping to preserve their emotional well-being. Struggles with communication and emotional regulation. Not everyone possesses the emotional intelligence or communication skills to navigate disagreements effectively. Some women may genuinely struggle to articulate their thoughts and feelings clearly, worrying that their words will be misinterpreted or escalate the situation. When faced with intense emotions or a complex problem, the brain can trigger a coping mechanism, where silence becomes the easiest way to avoid thinking or saying something they might regret. It can be a manifestation of helplessness, a feeling of not knowing how to start or believing their input won't be valued. For some, especially those with introverted tendencies, a temporary retreat into silence might be a natural impulse when overwhelmed, though this needs to be communicated to avoid being mistaken for the toxic silent treatment, a calculated bid for power, control, or retaliation. This is where silence transforms from a defense mechanism into a deliberate weapon. When used intentionally to manipulate, control, or punish, silence becomes a dangerous game. A woman might use it to make her partner feel guilty, forcing them to concede or apologize even if they are not solely at fault. It can be a way to avoid taking responsibility for her own actions, creating a smokescreen of quiet indignation. By withdrawing, she creates immense psychological pressure, making the other person feel confused, anxious, and desperate to restore communication, thereby giving her a sense of power and control. I've observed cases where a woman, knowing she's in the wrong, chooses silence because she lacks the courage to apologize or face the consequences. This silence then manipulates her partner into believing they might be the one at fault, cementing her innocence in her own mind and asserting her dominance in the relationship. This could also stem from a desire for revenge for past hurts, or a tit-for-tat response if her partner has previously used similar tactics. The goal here isn't understanding, it's to create discomfort, resentment, and a desire in the partner to fix the problem, usually on her terms. A silent exit strategy. In some cases, the silent treatment becomes a subtle, drawn-out way to end a relationship without having to face the difficult conversation of a breakup. By gradually withdrawing, becoming cold and distant, and refusing to engage, a woman can make her partner feel abandoned and unloved, eventually prompting them to give up and leave. This avoids the direct confrontation of stating, "I want to end this," but leaves a trail of deep emotional scars and unresolved questions for the other person. She might reduce meetings, communication, and explanations, hoping the partner will simply get the hint and silently walk away. The devastating impact, a silent bomb in relationships. The consequences of weaponized silence are profound and far-reaching, like a slow-burning time bomb within the relationship. For the person receiving the silent treatment, the emotional pain inflicted by the silent treatment is immense. Research shows that being ignored or excluded activates the same brain regions that process physical pain. Imagine the agonizing confusion, the frantic search for answers, the constant replaying of recent events, desperate to pinpoint what went wrong or how to break the silence. This kind of emotional abuse can lead to feelings of worthlessness, self-doubt, heightened anxiety, and even depression. You feel unacknowledged, insignificant, and isolated, left alone to grapple with your pain and disappointment. It's like being offered a helping hand only to have it snatched away, leaving you suspended in a state of emotional limbo. This psychological torment can make you feel like you're going crazy, constantly questioning your own reality and sanity. For the person giving the silent treatment, surprisingly, the perpetrator of the silent treatment also suffers. This behavior goes against our innate human need for connection and resolution. To maintain silence, one must constantly reinforce their reasons for doing so, living in a continuous loop of justification, anger, and resentment. This can lead to a buildup of negative energy, causing internal conflict and emotional exhaustion. They might feel cowardly for not admitting their mistakes or facing problems directly, even as they cling to the illusion of control. By consistently suppressing natural urges to communicate and resolve, they unknowingly erode their own authenticity and emotional well-being. In the long run, this self-inflicted harm can lead to deep regret and the loss of meaningful relationships with people who genuinely cared. It's a self-betrayal, acting contrary to their deepest instincts for connection. For the relationship itself, ultimately, weaponized silence is a corrosive force that eats away at the very foundation of a relationship. Trust erodes, communication channels shut down, and unresolved issues fester, creating an ever-widening emotional chasm. A relationship built on coldness, misunderstanding, and unaddressed grievances cannot thrive. It transforms what could be a loving, supportive partnership into an arduous exercise in endurance, characterized by emotional distance and a profound lack of intimacy. The manipulative use of silence often signals that the person employing it does not truly value the relationship or their partner's feelings, leading inevitably to cracks and, in many cases, a complete breakdown or divorce. What started as subtle manipulation evolves into a toxic cycle, leaving both individuals and the relationship deeply scarred. Spotting the stealthy signs. Is it silent treatment or something else? It's crucial to differentiate between someone needing healthy space to process and someone intentionally using silence to manipulate. While a mindful timeout can be constructive, the silent treatment carries distinct, often insidious markers. As an expert, I look for these key indicators. Sudden, unexplained withdrawal. This is often the first red flag. After a disagreement or a difficult conversation, your partner abruptly stops communicating without offering any reason or indication of when they might talk again. This isn't a request for space. It's a deliberate cutoff, leaving you in the dark. Active avoidance. They might physically remove themselves from your presence, refuse to make eye contact, avoid returning your calls or texts, or even leave the room or house when you're there. This is a conscious act of creating distance and isolation, making you feel like a ghost in your own home. Cold, dismissive responses. If they do respond, their answers are typically brief, flat, or emotionless. They might only reply when absolutely necessary, such as for a logistical question, but avoid any real engagement. This attitude communicates disdain and makes any attempt at genuine connection feel futile. Prolonged duration. This isn't a short period of quiet reflection. Toxic silence can last for days, weeks, or even longer, designed to emotionally exhaust you and wear down your resolve. The duration itself becomes part of the punishment. Conditional communication. A telling sign is that they only break their silence if you are the one to apologize, beg, or concede to their demands, even if you weren't solely at fault. The goal here isn't reconciliation based on mutual understanding, but rather subjugation and control. Selective silence. They might be perfectly cordial, engaging, and communicative with everyone else around you, friends, family, colleagues, but maintain a complete shutdown towards you. This selective ignoring is a powerful form of discrimination, making you feel specifically targeted, isolated, and profoundly hurt. Coupled with other controlling behaviors, look for patterns. Is their silence part of a larger picture of controlling behaviors, such as constantly checking your messages, using social media to make you jealous, or subtly dictating your life choices under the guise of help? These additional elements strengthen the diagnosis of a manipulative dynamic. I recall one partner expressing how their spouse would ignore them for days over minor issues, yet happily chat with the children and friends, making the targeted person feel entirely invisible and crazy. It's also important to briefly distinguish the silent treatment from ghosting, which has become prevalent in the digital age. While both involve a lack of communication, ghosting typically occurs in the early stages of a relationship. A sudden, complete disappearance without explanation, leaving the other person bewildered. The silent treatment, however, happens within an existing relationship where the person is still present but actively refuses to engage, often as a punitive measure. One is an abrupt exit from the connection, the other is a weaponized presence within it. Navigating the quiet storm. How to respond. Effectively, if you find yourself caught in the silent treatment's grip, it's vital to remember, your partner's silence is not your fault. Don't fall into the trap of blaming yourself or inventing elaborate scenarios to coax them into talking. That only feeds the manipulator. Here's a more constructive, psychologically sound approach. Maintain your calm and seek understanding. Internally. Your initial reaction might be a surge of hurt, anger, or desperation, but reacting emotionally will only fuel the fire and empower the silent treatment. Take a deep breath, ground yourself. Once your emotions are stable, try to objectively understand what might be behind their silence, but critically distinguish if it's a need for genuine space or a manipulative tactic. Are they truly overwhelmed, or are they deliberately punishing you? Sometimes, knowing this distinction, even if only for yourself, can prevent you from internalizing blame. Don't go into detective mode. Simply observe and reflect on the recent dynamics. Initiate communication, thoughtfully and assertively. You need to break the cycle, but do so strategically. Choose a calm moment, perhaps when the immediate tension has somewhat subsided. Approach them, not with accusations, but with I statements, focusing on your feelings and the impact of their silence. For example, instead of saying, "You're ignoring me and it's hurting me," try, "I've noticed you've been quiet lately, and I feel hurt and confused when we don't talk. I care about us, and I want to understand what's going on." This opens the door without immediate defensiveness. You could also offer a path forward. "If you're not ready to talk right now, I understand you might need space, but the silence is very difficult for me. Could you let me know when you might be ready to discuss this? Perhaps we could talk next week." This shows goodwill while still acknowledging your own needs. 3. Set clear boundaries. If the silent treatment is a recurring pattern, it's absolutely vital to establish firm boundaries to protect your emotional well-being. You need to communicate what you can and cannot accept. For instance, you might calmly state, "I understand if you need some time to yourself, but I cannot continue in a relationship where communication shuts down for days on end without explanation. We need to find healthier ways to resolve our conflicts." Your silence can, in turn, become a boundary in action, a soft no, or a graceful withdrawal from manipulative tactics. It's a message to yourself that you are protecting your peace. Prioritize your self-worth and seek support. If your sincere attempts to communicate and set boundaries are consistently met with continued silence, manipulation, or a refusal to change, it's time to seriously reevaluate the relationship. Emotional abuse, however subtle, is damaging, and you deserve a partnership built on respect, open dialogue, and mutual understanding. Connect with trusted friends, family, or, importantly, a mental health professional. An objective third party, like a couples counselor, can provide invaluable tools and insights, helping both partners learn more effective communication strategies and manage conflict in a healthy way. If your partner refuses counseling or to change, remember that focusing on your own personal growth, interests, and self-care is paramount to maintaining your self-confidence and emotional balance. Be prepared to leave, if necessary. This is often the toughest, but sometimes most necessary step. If the silent treatment persists despite your genuine efforts, and it continues to severely damage your mental and emotional well-being, you must be prepared to walk away. You are not obligated to stay in a relationship where you are constantly being manipulated, punished, or made to feel worthless. True self-respect and self-preservation mean knowing when to protect your peace and exit a toxic environment. Emotional abuse can escalate, and your physical and psychological safety should always be your top priority. Remember, a quote I've heard often rings true: if they are silent, you will be free, because you have already lost them. This signifies that sometimes her silence is indeed the end. The quiet confidence. Silence as empowerment, not manipulation. Now, let's shift gears and explore a profoundly different and far more empowering aspect of silence for women, one that many powerful figures embody. This isn't the weaponized silence we've been dissecting, but a conscious, intentional quietness that projects immense power, self-discipline, and grace. Think of a woman who walks into a room and says very little, yet commands attention. Her silence isn't a sign of weakness or submission. It's a deliberate strategy. It can create a powerful psychological dominance, making others uncomfortable because it subtly forces them to sit with their own thoughts. They might wonder what she's thinking, if she's judging them, or if she simply exists on a plane above the trivialities. This mystery itself is an incredibly potent aura. As one insightful perspective puts it, don't let that quiet demeanor fool you. Silence isn't weakness, it is strategy. This quiet confidence protects her energy. She doesn't react to every negative comment, doesn't overshare, and doesn't feel the need to be the loudest voice in the room. In fact, often, the loudest person in the room is the one who lacks the most self-control. Instead, her poised presence and self-mastery speak volumes. When you don't constantly explain yourself or strive to be liked, you set a higher standard for how you are treated. You don't engage in endless arguments. You simply exit situations that don't serve your peace. Your silence in this context becomes a powerful boundary, a love letter to yourself, safeguarding your mental and emotional resources. Emotionally regulated women, those who process their feelings in private and strategize in silence, are often the most formidable, in the best sense of the word. They possess the remarkable ability to transmute heartbreak into business plans, hurt into growth, and challenges into self-improvement. Their silence forces introspection in others, mirroring back their behavior and often triggering guilt. When such a woman does choose to speak, her words carry immense weight. They are intentional, impactful, and often bring a definitive end to a conversation, simply because her voice is not wasted on nonsense. This is how real women move, with impact. This strategic silence is self-respect in action. It's a soft no, a graceful goodbye to what no longer serves her, a powerful act of self-preservation. It's when she stops trying to convince, defend, or prove herself, and instead fully steps into her inherent power. As the saying goes, you don't owe anyone noise, not your ex, not your friends, not those waiting for you to break. You owe yourself peace, and that peace comes from discipline. Let your absence speak for you, let your silence address the disrespect, and let your glow up be the loudest announcement. Quiet women don't compete, they build. They don't argue, they upgrade. They don't react, they retreat, recalibrate, and then re-enter with grace and power. This form of silence is about consciously choosing your energy like a luxury item, knowing that your worth is non-negotiable. So, the next time someone comments on a woman being too quiet, remember, sometimes the loudest power plays are the ones that never make a sound. Conclusion: ultimately, silence is a double-edged sword in the intricate world of relationships. While it can be a beautiful expression of comfort, a powerful tool for self-preservation, and a projection of quiet confidence, it can also be wielded as a cruel instrument of manipulation and emotional abuse. Understanding these nuances, recognizing the red flags, and having the courage to communicate openly or, if necessary, to walk away, are paramount. Let us strive for relationships where silence is a shared peace, not a weapon. For in the end, true connection thrives not in forced quiet, but in authentic, respectful dialogue, allowing both partners to truly be seen, heard, and valued.